Alright, so, hello, my name is AJ Padmia. So, I'm assuming that you've all seen on the road nowadays cars that you wouldn't have seen on the road 2 decades ago. Toyota Priuses, Teslas, Chevy Volts, all of these cars are taking a step away from the standard gasoline engine that cars have been using for so long and are starting to move towards new, cleaner, more efficient technology. But that poses the question, what type of future, or what type of car will dominate the market in the future? Will it be the gasoline, the hybrid, or the electric car? And that leads us to my main claim, that hybrid cars will become the most purchased car in the near future. This is evidenced by the fact that there has been an increased demand in hybrid cars within the past several years, the fact that hybrid cars are quickly gaining public approval, and that hybrid cars are more popular than any of their competitors. Now back to my first point, demand for hybrid cars has tripled in the last 5 years. Research conducted by Mark Dish found that in 2009, a total of 1.6 million hybrid cars had been purchased. However, in 2014, that number had risen all the way to 4.3 million, an almost 3 times the amount increase. This makes it evident that hybrid cars are very quickly picking up popularity and that more and more people are buying them. But it's not enough to just merely look at the numbers. We gotta take into consideration people's behavior towards hybrid cars. And that leads us to point 2, that hybrids are quickly gaining public approval. In 2009, Ritsuko Ozaki had conducted a study on the effective marketing techniques used on different cars and brands and whatnot. And he found that for any hybrid car, when it was marketed with the notion that it was a more sustainable type of transportation than standard gasoline engines, it was more likely to sell well. This contrasts with the original marketing strategy that had been going on for hybrid cars, considering they've been around for almost 2 decades now and they're only just now becoming as popular as they are. Because in the past, cars were not marketed as being a better alternative to the standard. They were simply marketed as something different. This new marketing strategy is helping to create more sales for hybrids. Zhu An in 2008 had also done a survey among around 1,000 people or so and found that many people would prefer to drive a hybrid car if possible. However, the biggest inhibitor was the fact that they are quite expensive. However, that study was done in 2008, and that is becoming less relevant of an issue today. Take, for example, the Toyota Prius, which in 2007 cost around $42,000 to buy, but in 2015 only cost $15,000. They're becoming much more accessible to people, and so now a much larger crowd has access to these cars. Further research by Mark Dish, again, found also that the way the product that producers push on people also obviously affects how many people want to buy that product. In the past, it happened with sports cars always being rag tops. In the past, it happened with wagons being the preferred car type. And now, many producers are saying that hybrids are the way to go. You can even see it in big name companies like Porsche or Ferrari with their hybrid models. A couple of years ago, people would have been completely against it, but now these hybrid models are some of the most exotic cars on the road. Now, leading to the third point, hybrids are a much more popular car than any of the other competitors on the road. In a study of around 1,400 people conducted by John Axon in 2012, he found that at lowest, around 40% of people would prefer to drive a hybrid car, even if it was more expensive and had no bells or whistles compared to a standard gasoline car. However, once you started lowering the price just a little and started adding a little bit more features, like what we look for when we actually do car shopping, you found that that number jumped all the way to 90% of people preferring a hybrid car over a standard gasoline or electric car. In the same study, he found that even at a cheap price with a lot of different luxury options, only 5% of people at most would prefer an electric car over either a hybrid or a gasoline car. This shows that the competition for hybrids is slowly on the decline, and in the case of electric cars, it's almost non-existent except for, say, Tesla, which is just about the only all-electric car that's actually popular in this day and age. So, hopefully by showing you that hybrid sales are on a rise, that hybrids are more popular in the public eye than they once were, and that hybrids are the preferred car choice of any other car on the road, you can see that hybrid cars will be the most purchased car in the market in the near future.
All right, AJ, I like the opening with the variety of new vehicles that you're talking about and kind of the comparison and the changes that are taking place. I think that you've got a very clear statement of the proposition. The layout of your supporting points is pretty clear, although in the body of the speech, I didn't think that you were quite as distinct on those points as you're making your argument as you were at the beginning. In fact, the first couple of points sort of ran together. You got a little bit clearer as you got toward the end, and they were more distinct there. Sometimes you're explaining things, sometimes you're providing proof on those points, and sometimes you're trying to let the evidence make an argument for you instead of the other way around, using the evidence to support the argument there. I thought some of the information was very interesting. For example, the analysis of the marketing techniques, I think that's interesting. I think what you need to do is show that there has been a shift in the way these cars are being marketed, and then the consumer surveys are also pretty good. You've got some good factual data on car sales, but we do need a little bit of context. So you mentioned, for instance, that they've tripled the number of sales of hybrids in the last 7 years or so. But of course, if the sale of hybrids was relatively low, tripling it isn't all that significant. I don't know what percentage of total car sales hybrids represent, what part of the market is available in a hybrid form. So that there are more models that are hybrids, I think that that's a good piece of information to have. That consumers are buying them more frequently, that's pretty good. Now you got to put those things together and show that it's not just that you've got to show that the marketplace for hybrids is overtaking the other kinds of vehicles. And that's the point where I think maybe it's a little bit thin on those sorts of things. You had a reference to factual data that I think I need some proof on because I haven't been car shopping for a while, so I don't know that. But the idea that the price of hybrids went from $42,000 down to $15,000, I'm not saying that's not true. It might very well be true. Maybe there are hybrids that are available at $15,000. Give me a source citation on that. Tell me what, here, according to the Toyota website, they offer 10 varieties of the Camry in hybrid form starting at $15,000 or something like that. Right. And then I'd be a little bit more convinced. You guys know about those teaser rates and the bait and switch advertising and stuff like that. And I'm thinking, yeah, they're telling you got a hybrid for $15,000 and what you get is a bicycle that looks like a Camry. I just don't know, And I think I'd need to be convinced on that sort of thing. All right, thank you.